Hello, everybody. This is Tom Eckert here. You're listening to my podcast, Numerology, a GPS for the Soul. This is your place to learn about the true power of numerology and how to use it to bring out the best in yourself, understand your loved ones better, take wise decisions, and prepare for your future. In other words, how to live your life aligned with your true destiny. Take your time to educate yourself and share these podcasts with your friends and family so they too can enjoy the great benefits of numerology. Enjoy! Hello there, and welcome to all my listeners. Today, we're diving into a somewhat different topic than usual. We're going to talk about perfectionism. Perfectionism reflected in the numbers, but more specifically, we're going to talk about unhealthy perfectionism that oftentimes affects many of us and really stands in the way of simply living our life and allowing things to flow spontaneously, be it relationships, career, etc. But before I say anything further, if you're new here, I want to welcome you to my podcast. In this podcast, we discuss numerology as a path for inner growth, spiritual transformation, expansion of consciousness, self understanding. And I personally attempt to make numerology very accessible, very applicable for everyday life matters. So that you can use it in a grounded way and apply it in your daily life to live a more balanced, a more conscious, life, a life that is aligned with your soul and your true purpose. Now, if you want to dive deeper into numerology, here are a few ways you can do so. First and foremost, you can book a numerology reading with me. In a numerology reading, you can ask any question that is burning in your life and get precise, self tailored answers, especially for you. You can read more about my readings and contact me through the link that's provided in the episode description. Now, if you wish to study numerology on a deeper level or even pursue it as a career, I invite you to check out my two study paths. The first one is my self study numerology courses that give you this rare opportunity to learn numerology online at your own pace, on your mobile device, your tablet, or your laptop. And my library currently includes two self study courses, and more are coming up. Or if you want to be initiated into the rare depths of numerology and acquire a real mastery of this art, you can sign up to my Complete Paths of Certification, where you study directly with me one on one, all the way from a total beginner to a numerology expert. And you get certified along the path as a professional numerologist. Now, again, to read more about both study paths, check out the links provided in the episode description. So, numerology helps us understand ourselves and bring out the best in ourselves. It also helps us understand our blocks, our conditioning, and the places where we go overboard. In that way, it helps us become aware of potentially unhealthy and sometimes even destructive tendencies and bring balance to our life. So, as I mentioned earlier in this episode, I'm going to talk about perfectionism. More specifically, how particular number combinations, something I refer to a lot in my podcast, can take perfectionism to an unhealthy and a pretty stifling and smothering place. Now, perfectionism in this sense is the need that things be in a very specific and particular way according to my wishes, my desires, and my plans, and being unable to sort of let go, adjust, and become more flexible. This is not limited to being a perfectionist, to say, in your career or the way you clean your apartment, but also your expectations in relationships, how you deal with yourself emotionally when things don't go according to plan, and how you cope with the unpredictable and uncontrollable in general, right? When other forces, other wishes that are other than yours you're confronted with them. So, the first number combination we'll explore is the 4-7. Before I speak any further, I want to say that all numbers I'm about to mention here, also as standalones, in this case 4 and 7, have a tendency to perfectionism. But when placed together, it usually becomes more extreme. The 4-7 combo is a very mental and methodical personality. They are very exact and even mathematical, one can say. I personally find them to be people that are usually well informed about what they talk about. They're more serious. They are very detailed and precise. In fact, they are people of small details. And perhaps that's part of where their perfectionism can start working to their own detriment. The 4-7s tend to over rationalize reality and explain everything through a mental or mathematical perspective. They tend to be emotionally dry and a bit arrogant, thinking they simply know what's right and how things always work and should work. They have very particular ideas on how things or life should be expressed and arranged, and they can be very controlling and inflexible in that way. Now, in their over perfectionism, they sometimes forget that they are human beings and behave a bit like computers. You know what I mean? So sometimes, like, you interact with a 4-7 and you feel like you're really talking to a program, which is a little bit funny, a little bit annoying, a little bit bizarre, um, a bit like a machine, a computer, again. So this can sabotage relationships, as you can imagine, and generally make them more stiff and less open to feelings and emotions. And in a way, like in trying to get all the small details right, they can really miss the bigger picture. For example, bigger picture being something simple like, okay, there's a person standing in front of me. I'm not gonna now analyze them like some kind of as if they were some kind of computer, program or some whatever. I have to remember there's a person in front of me. Now, I just want to say, and I'm probably going to reiterate that either throughout the episode or in the end again, but every number combination here has also its positive sides. And I mentioned, right, they're strong mental capacities, they're like accuracy and seriousness, precision, and so on and so forth. Of course, I'm choosing to focus on the places where this goes overboard so that we can learn something and use this in a way that is very practical and balance ourselves. Of course, I speak in detail, about the number combinations in my self-study course. I mean, in case you want to know also other sides of those combos. The second number combination I want to talk about is the 4 and the 8. They are hard workers. They're physical people, very physical personality in a way. And it's actually not uncommon to find this particular number combo in athletes' charts. Very pragmatic, not afraid to put in the extra work to really sort of work hard to grow, to earn whatever they to earn their rewards. Now, perfectionism here both changes form a bit, but also moves to a higher gear, I would say. Um, the 4-8 not only wants things to be exactly as they think they should be, which, is very similar to the 4-7, right? But here they also want people to be the exact same way they think they should be and behave. So in a way, we're looking here at a greater need to control. So they have this very strict idea on how things should happen, behave, and their unhealthy perfectionism can express itself by basically obsessively trying to control others, things, events, forcing their thoughts and approaches onto the people around them, and being very focused on fixing people and trying to direct their every move. And in a way, because the 4 and 8, as I said, like they're more like physical, right, personalities, this can also be a bit like quite literal, like aggressive. And if I give like a very simplistic example, like a parent who's a 4/8 and expects their child to behave in a very particular way, and they can let's say hit them or something like that if they don't behave exactly the way they should have behaved, right? There's something harsh. And also what's interesting is that something about the 4/8 can be very anal, right? Focusing on the tiniest, most irrelevant details and making them into huge and important themes. Um, and of course, because they're so sure that they're right, because perfectionists tend to do that, it's hard to persuade them otherwise. Um, so as I sort of said, right, I want to maybe like say a few more words on that, given, right, that they're both physical numbers, the way they force their perfectionist tendencies and expectations can be just very harsh, very strict, and simply downright violent, aggressive, forceful. So, I mean, if I mentioned, lack of emotional connection with the 4 and 7, then here it's really bumped up like 2 notches with the 4/8. They're very capable people on the one hand, as you can imagine, with such practical numbers merging into one, but they can easily forget that there are actual living, breathing people in front of them that have other ways of approaching life, other ways of thinking, other ways of doing things. That people are actually not just an extension of their but have their own will, their own set of values, their own set of rules, and they go about things in different ways. So before I move on to the next number combo, I just want to say if you're enjoying this podcast and you want to keep learning more in depth, high quality numerology and also support this work, make sure to click the follow or subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell on the platform you're listening from. And make sure to become part of my numerology community. Also, make sure to follow me on Substack, where I write in depth content about numerology and Dharma. Again, the links are in the podcast episode description. And lastly, of course, make sure to check out the comment section where you can leave comments and communicate with me, ask questions, share what you feel and think about episodes and topics that I share here. It's a great opportunity to connect and keep learning numerology, and I will always attempt to answer as many comments as I possibly can. So now we move on to the next number combination, which is none other than the 6/7. This one's an interesting one because contrary to the 4/7 and 4/8, it's not disconnected from its emotions in any way. On the contrary, emotions are deep and strong, perhaps sometimes too strong. The 6/7 combo can truly dedicate itself wholeheartedly to things and people. Whatever it cares about, it can give 110% of itself to. But it comes at a price. Their particular unhealthy perfectionism plays out in the way of obsessive expectations, sometimes unrealistic expectations, a wish for things to simply be perfect. They're very sensitive people, and everything goes very deep into them and hits their heart and emotional world very powerfully. So in a way, they are always on high emotional alert, or in other words, high strung, uneasy. Like there's this, their nerves are buzzing, right? So always wanting things to look perfect, to sound perfect, behave perfectly, etc. One can literally feel the nervous energy around them, like a buzz of high expectations that doesn't give them rest. And boy, it can be very annoying to be around. It can literally feel like OCD at times, and I would argue that sometimes it's it really is OCD. Um, Now, I mean like small things, right? So we're not talking this. We're talking about like the relationship. It has to. There are particular ways in which you should talk in a relationship, or there's you shouldn't put it on this shelf, but on the other shelf. And it's not about like the motive here. It's not like this is the correct way, like the 4-8 or the 4-7. It's more like it's almost like it bothers their nerves or their sight or their sound. Like everything should, as I said, a bit of a compulsive or obsessive behavior. Like everything should be perfect, aligned, beautiful. You know what I mean? Like as if everything should be a masterpiece or something along these lines. And it's they get really disturbed when things are not exactly that way. So their perfectionism tends to make them very tense and emotionally demanding and basically very uneasy. When they're now the thing is when they are dialed in, they are really dialed in, which is incredible. Okay, that's like one of their positives. They can achieve wonderful things. They're super talented. But again, sometimes they get dialed in obsessive ways, in ways that like bother them and the people around them. Moving on, the last number combination I'll talk about is the 7 and the 8. Now, like many of the previous combos, it too can achieve many great things due to its very precise and accurate nature. The 7-8 is really aspires to excellence and is able to achieve excellence in many ways. I'll be super honest here. It is very mindy, okay? The mind is a very strong element. I would maybe argue that even a bit stronger than the 4-7, or at least in a different way. Um, and of all the number combinations I presented so far, it is perhaps the most judgmental. It truly expects people to be perfect. When you are around them, it's like standing next to a human scanner that checks your every freckle and sees like every little spot on your body and character. Now, make no mistake, they are as judgmental of themselves. I think that, what stands out with the 7-8 and their unhealthy perfectionism is how strongly they are in their heads. Now, this number combo, fits perfectly to people of the academic world or programmers, intense thinkers, people that need to activate their mind like very intensely. But being so much in their head, they can truly lose sight of compassion and the general connection to their heart. And to that end, they can tend to approach people as if they were objects. So it can be experienced and it can be experienced and perceived as cruel. I'm not saying they're trying to be cruel. I don't, I think they're not. But sometimes, it's for example, like a 7-8 boss would can expect you to function and perform perfectly all the time. And let's say you manage, okay? Let's say you're a great worker. You always go the extra mile, the extra 10 miles. But after 3 years of giving it your absolute best, you're burned out. And then instead of supporting you, they might simply be, because again, they think in a very sort of like uh, mathematical way, instead of supporting you, they might simply replace you altogether after all the effort you've put into something. So, in a sense, from their perspective, they've just been like super pragmatic, like super practical. Again, like again, a bit that image of the computer or the mathematics. Wait a second, 1 plus 1 doesn't equal 3; it equals 2. So I'm just changing things here. You know what I mean? I'm not being emotional about it, but from the perspective of humanness, it's somewhat cruel. Like that person really invested their all for your company to succeed, and you're just like not even trying to help them, support them, make them feel better, so that they can come back and work for you. Like that's truly lacking compassion. So in a sense, they can achieve amazing things, right? That's on the one hand, but fail big time on the human level. That's where really their unhealthy perfectionism plays out the most. Now, so far with number combinations, but now that I'm finished talking about number combinations, I still want to mention another type of a perfectionist. Mm, and again, there are more. There are more types. This is what I'm going to focus on in this episode. So, I'm speaking about a person with repeating fours in their core numbers. People with two or more fours, number four, in their core numbers can also suffer from this unhealthy perfectionism that I've described here. In this case, a person might tend to have very strict ideas about how things should be and have a very hard time adjusting to any form of change or need for flexibility. Their over perfectionism can make them stuck up, tough headed, unable to think outside the box, unable to see other solutions except the ones, that they insist on. So just multiple fours affect a person's ability to think with an open mind. It becomes too rigid. And so that's a sort of another form of like destructive perfectionism, where things are so boxed in that you're not able to see things in any different way. And this too can sabotage relationships. Now, as I said, there are other number combinations and other numbers I haven't even mentioned that tend to this unhealthy perfectionism, but I can't cover them all here. And again, as I said in the beginning, I want to be clear and say that all the numbers and number combinations I've mentioned here have spectacular traits, and their tendency to perfectionism can truly shine also and bring forth wonderful things. So, as I mentioned before, I speak about it in length in my number combinations course, all the traits of every number combination. But for now, if you happen to embody one of these combos or you know someone who does, I hope that this episode, helps you navigate your own perfectionism in more constructive ways and, spot yourself when it goes overboard and bring yourself back to balance, back to the center. Now, before we wrap this up, again, if you enjoyed this podcast and you want to keep supporting this work and study high quality numerology, make sure to subscribe to my channel, follow it, click the notifications bell on any platform you're listening from, and become part of my numerology community. Also, make sure to follow me on Substack, where I write and merge numerology and Dharma. Again, the link is in the episode description. Remember to comment, participate in the conversation. I will always attempt to answer you, my friends. And don't forget to check out both my numerology readings so you can get to know and experience numerology on your own flesh, and to check out my self-study numerology courses or in-depth numerology certification studies if you want to acquire deeper mastery of numerology. My friends, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. And as always, I'll see you in the next ones. Take care. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, and you want to go deeper into numerology, check out my website, tom-eckert.com. You can also book a numerology reading or even study numerology yourself through my courses. I'll see you in the next episode.